Hello, excuse me. This is David Cherry. Now I'm going to show you how to get the number of rows in a table for a database, whether it be MySQL or a Maria database using PHP and MySQLi. Okay. Now, to see the code, you can go to my website to copy the code at CompuNet.com, and you can copy the code there, and I'll give you a direct link. So here's the code right here, all right, where you can get the number of rows in a database table. Okay, I hope I didn't say columns in there. Number of rows in a database table. I'm kind of tired, forgive me. But anyway, here's what the output will look like. It's a simple output. And anyway, this is what you're interested in right here. All right, results set for demo.users, which is, the database demo users is the table, and it has 8 rows. So you know that the users in my demo database currently only has 8 users till I add more in it for testing and developing. Okay, but anyway, so this is what the code actually looks like. Okay, and you can I'll have a URL posted for it, and I'll go through a brief description of everything. Okay, in my last video, when I was talking about the connection string, I misstated something, but you want to basically keep your connection string here with CONN, not like MySQL, because that identifies that it's a connection string, and you'll have that down here, and that was a little mistake, where I kind of fumbled there. But anyway, you have your opening tag here, you have your closing tag here, okay, for a PHP file. And when you connect to a database, you'll need your DB host, you'll need your DB user, you'll need your DB pass, that's the password to enter into the database, your DB name, and your DB table. Okay, a good secure server will not allow you to access using root, okay, or a blank password. Okay, but when you're learning and you're developing, well, that's pretty good. But on a production server, you don't want to have that. All right, now, anyway. What we're interested in is getting the number of rows in the table for users. That would tell us how many users there are in the table, and as in a number of rows. Okay, you don't want to do it by getting the last ID, because the last ID does not tell you the number of rows. You want to know the number of rows, because that tells you how many users are actually in the database if you're just interested in a simple plain number. And that's what this code is for, is to show you a simple plain number. Okay, so anyway, and if you remember right here, whenever you have your local host deal there stated, okay, and then you have, like a semicolon and 3306. 3306 is the default port for MySQL database and all, databases basically, but it could have another port also, that you might be using, and so it's not necessary to have the semicolon 3306 unless you are using an alternate. And here, because I'm not using an alternate, I'm not going to have it there. Okay, although I do from time to time leave it there just for reminder of the default port. Okay, so here's your connection string right here. Okay, you want to connect to the database. Okay, and you go new MySQLi, then you got your database host, which will be right up here, then your database user, your database pass, and your DB name. Okay, now I want to point out something which I haven't been doing. When you do this, make sure that you have your double quotes encoded for the variable, because your code will not work if you use a single quote. Okay, you don't want to use single quotes. Now, you don't have to do this on this right here. You can just simply have the variables there. But if you do that, then the problem becomes that if you put in a name, an actual name here without a single quote or a double quote, okay, then what will happen is it will have like a undefined or something like that. I can't exactly remember at this moment. But anyway, so it's always best to use a double quote. Okay, now anyway, so then we're going to have our query string to retrieve the records from the database. Okay, that, you know, because we're performing a query on the database. So you have the result is what you want to get. Okay, some people will have like SQL there. Okay, or I mean not SQL, MySQL. Here we have result, and then you got your connection because we're doing object-oriented format, and then okay. So anyway, the main thing is what we're doing is what this really means right here is, okay, if you notice I got everything within here, the double quote. As I said, double quotes are important because you want this variable to work. Okay, so we're going to select every thing, all the columns and everything. Okay, all right, that's what that means from the DB table. All right, so anyway, now we want to get the row count. How do we get the row count? Okay, all right, there, I define the variable for row count as row underscore CNT. Okay, and then what we'll use from my SQLi is the result is the number of rows. So you have to use this. Okay, and then we put the result out by using printf, or you could use echo. Here we use printf. Okay, and then I use this right here. I put it within, you know, these things here, and you know, so anyway, so I have, you know, this here and this here, okay, for the string. All right, and then this here, all right, is the first parameter, and this here is the second parameter for, you know, for the variable we want to put out, and that is row count. Okay, so printf result set for demo.users has, you know, number of rows. Okay, that's a formatting deal there. All right, and then we close the connection at the very end. Okay, if you notice, you know, I said you always want to use the CONN. Some people will use like MySQLi, and I've done that. Okay, you know, you want to make sure that this matches here, this down here. Okay, all right, so anyway, that's the basic code on how to do it, and what it would look like is it'll look like this right here. Okay, result set for demo users has 8 rows, so that tells you there's only 8 users in my demo database I'm creating so far until I add more. Okay, now if you notice, I don't have, you know, like this here you see is the header. It's not in this code. I omitted it. So I just basically, what you need to do is copy everything right here, and you know, then you can put in your own header or whatever for what you want to do, and you have the basic code you need to get the number of rows, okay, in your database table. And what you do is you just change the database name and the database table to whatever database you've created or you want to get. Okay, so anyway, this is David Cherry. Quick tip, I'll leave a URL and a link in my video that you can see the code and copy the code, which makes it really, really easy. And I thank you a whole bunch, and just want to say be blessed and have a very, very good day.